Hello and welcome to the Employee Advocacy and Influence podcast. I'm Lewis Gray. I'm a senior marketing manager here at DSMN8. And yes, I'm flying solo again today. So no Elliot and no Emma this week, but I do have a packed episode for you. So hopefully you won't miss them too much. It's a very special episode as well, as today we're diving into something that's been months in the making here at DSMN8 and something that quite frankly is long overdue in our niche. If you've taken an interest in employee advocacy in recent years, you'll know that the most commonly referenced data around the topic is out of date. Some of it, if not a lot of it, predates the COVID pandemic and the shift to digital. So, needless to say, a lot of it is no longer fit for purpose. And we decided to do something about that. So, I'm very excited to announce the release of the world's biggest employee advocacy study. And that's not just a catchy title. This report we just released is a result of analysing over 500,000 LinkedIn posts shared by employees from all over the world across industries, roles, and seniority levels. And the insights are honestly going to be absolutely game changing. So, if you're running an advocacy program or thinking about starting one, stick around because we're going to look at 5 key takeaways from the data. And I'll also point you toward a few other Disseminate resources to help you act on what you learned. So, without further ado, let's get into the report. So the first takeaway that I wanted to go through is the fact that authenticity is absolutely everything right now. So we've all heard this before. Human, authentic content tends to perform best on social media, and this has never been more true than in the era of AI-generated content. But now we've actually got the data to back it up. So get this, posts that employees edit slightly, even just changing a word or two, get nearly 3 times more engagement than unedited posts. And fully original personal posts, they get 9 times more total engagement, 17 times more comments, and over 9 times more clicks than curated ones. And what I mean by curated posts are posts that have been provided by their organization, maybe their employee advocacy program manager, as a template post for them to use when sharing. So the difference we're seeing here is that when they're customized even slightly and they add that touch of authenticity, the post performed that much better. So let that sink in for a second. And you might be thinking, yeah, but my team isn't full of LinkedIn content creators. And that's totally fair. But that's kind of the point. You don't need every employee writing a novel. Even a small tweak, adding a sentence, changing the intro can make a huge difference. Personal stories and anecdotes are what really resonates with audiences, so encouraging this behavior can clearly go a very long way. And if you're looking for a way to encourage this behavior, our ultimate guide to employee advocacy actually outlines how top performing companies support employees with templates, examples, and even ghostwriting support. So I'll link to that in the show notes. Sarah Rusgar-O'Connell, who is AWIN's former employee advocacy program manager and one of the most seasoned program managers I've ever spoken with, touched on the importance of authenticity in a recent episode of our podcast.
I think you have to be a lot more conscious of staying true to yourself and being authentic, because it can be so easy to get caught up in all the other things other people are saying and feeling this pressure to maybe go a bit overboard or just, try and emulate someone else. But I still think to this day, like, the most engaged posts are the ones that are the most authentic and are really based on your own experiences and expertise. So I think now probably it might even seem even more daunting, even though there's more people doing it. But I think people might be like, oh, but there's already so many people who are posting X, Y, and Z. What can I contribute to the conversation? But like with anything, I think everyone has their own unique perspective that they can bring to a topic. So yeah, I think maybe it's a little bit more competitive in some ways, but I think, if you just, stick to what you know and what you believe in, then you can still contribute something worthwhile that people will engage with.
So the second insight from the report that I wanted to touch on is that mid-sized networks, generally speaking, actually outperform the mega influencers. And this is one that surprised even us. So employees with 5,000 to 10,000 LinkedIn connections had the highest average engagement rates, even beating those with 10,000 plus connections. Now, sure, bigger audiences are still valuable, but if you're only activating your executive team or those with huge followings, then clearly you're leaving reach on the table. The data shows that scale comes from depth and not just volume. And in fact, 60% of the posts we analyzed came from people with fewer than 2,000 connections. So the takeaway here is don't just rely on the loudest voices. Empower the many, not just the megaphones. And if you're running a program, this is your sign to broaden the net. Get more people involved and help them feel confident enough to share. Okay, so the third insight is that content format matters. And this will probably come as no surprise to social media managers, but the surprising thing to us is that the content formats that perform the best are probably not what you'd expect. So most employees are sharing links and images, and that's totally normal. But the content that actually performs the best is text only posts and gallery posts. So gallery posts, when we say that, we mean posts with multiple images as opposed to carousel posts that you might see on LinkedIn. So text only posts had the highest engagement by far, and we're talking 16.5 average engagements compared to 7.3 engagements for posts with links. They also got the most comments and clicks. So why does this matter? Because it means that sometimes less is more. Text only posts feel real, they feel human, and they're great for storytelling and thought leadership. And those gallery posts, they're perfect for event recaps, culture moments, or just visual storytelling. If you're a program manager, this is a simple win. Encourage your team to occasionally post something text only or share a gallery from their last company event because it will get noticed. And hey, if you're curating content for your employees to share, you'll know that one of the most time-taxing parts of that is creating or sourcing an asset to accompany that post. Well, it might not be necessary. Sometimes, as I say, doing less will get you more. So the fourth insight from the report is that timing is everything. And this will be something that is constantly on the minds of social media managers. Algorithms are constantly changing, and we never really know when the best time to post is. So if you're managing an advocacy program, when should employees post? The most popular posting days are Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. But if you're chasing engagement, then Tuesday is actually your golden hour with the highest average engagements per post. But here's the kicker. Late night posts get the highest engagement overall. And we're talking about posts going out at around 10 or 11 p.m. Now, that doesn't mean that you need your team to be up all night writing LinkedIn posts, but it does highlight how global audiences and algorithms work. If your team is international or you're posting into multiple time zones, don't be afraid to experiment. Evening posts might hit a fresh audience just waking up on the other side of the world. And hey, if you're using DSMN8, our auto scheduling takes care of this for you because it optimizes post times based on when your audience is most likely to engage. So worth a look if you're managing a distributed team. So the fifth and final insight from the report is small edits to your captions can yield huge results. So we kind of touched on this earlier, or in fact we did, but there we were talking more about authenticity. But here I really want to stress the importance of employees tweaking their posts before sharing them. So caption editing is the low-hanging fruit of employee advocacy. Only 3.6% of the 500,000 plus posts we analyzed had edited captions. The rest of them used suggested captions provided by their organization. And now the 3.6% who did edit their posts saw 3 times more engagement, 4 times more reactions, and 5 times more comments. And the more edited the caption, the higher the results. Posts that were heavily rewritten, so less than 30% similar to the original, performed 4 times better than copy-paste shares, which is just absolutely wild and is a stat that you just can't ignore. It's basically the difference between saying, I'm sharing this because my company told me to, and here's something I care about, and here's why it matters. And if you're listening and thinking, yeah, but our industry doesn't allow much editing, we hear you, totally get that. Regulated sectors are often a different beast when it comes to this kind of thing. But even there, with regulated sectors, small tweaks can be more than enough, as the data shows. And again, platforms like DSMN8 do make it easier by providing multiple caption variations. You can actually see this in action in our Swiss Post case study, where employees were given pre-approved captions, but also the freedom to tweak them to suit their tone of voice. So I'll link to that in the show notes. I do actually just want to go back to Sarah here because she shared some insight into how post performance was impacted when employees customized their shares at Awin.
But I really want to get to a place where every single person sharing on DSMN8 feels comfortable tailoring their content to really make it the most impactful that it can be. Because obviously the company caption is great, just to give you like an idea of, okay, this is what it's about, and this is kind of the direction we want you to talk about. But you really see, because I think there is now functionality in the platform where it shows you who's like, I can't remember the phrasing you used, like edited it, tailored it the most. And obviously those posts 99% of the time get the most engagement.
So there you have it, 5 big takeaways from the world's biggest employee advocacy study. But just to recap, the first one was authenticity wins. So in the era of AI generated content, you need to be encouraging your employees to add their own take and really adding that human touch. The second was that mid-sized networks matter. So don't just chase your executive team, focus on those with smaller networks because everybody influences somebody. The third takeaway was that text only and gallery posts absolutely crush it on social media. So you can probably save yourself some time here, ditch the corporate fluff and actually generate better results. The fourth, timing counts. Tuesdays and late night posts are definitely your friends here. And then lastly, most importantly, edited captions does equal better performance. So just tweak it. If you're going to put your time into anything with your employee advocacy program this year, let it be encouraging employees to add their own take to their posts, because clearly that's where you'll see the biggest results. We'll link to the full study in the show notes, and I really encourage you to check it out. It's packed with visuals, benchmarks, and even more regional insights that we didn't get into today. And if you're in the process of selecting an employee advocacy platform, we've also just released a brand new employee advocacy RFP template. It includes everything you need to evaluate vendors the smart way. I'll pop that in the show notes too, but that's it from me for this one. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode useful, feel free to share it with a colleague or drop us a quick review. And as always, we'll catch you soon on another episode of the podcast. Thank you very much for listening.